Hey everyone, and welcome to a Dark Age of Camelot video that will help you take your game to the next level. In this video, I'll cover a high level of advanced strategies and mechanics used by today's best players. The goal of this video is to make everyone more comfortable with the game, their character, and inform players on things they may not be aware of. A quick intro about myself. My name is Kujii and I've been playing DAoC since 2002. I started out on Midgard Morgan Le Fay as a Norseman healer and later moved to Hib Tristan as an elf enchanter. I almost exclusively played that enchanted rank 11 before jumping around 7 tunes. Now I have almost every class around rank 7 and 8, and I've been from Zerging, camping Malgates and Old Frontiers, to bridge and tower camping in New Frontiers, eventually slid into 8v8. Lately I've been experiencing solo game with a melee heretic. I've been 8v8ing for over 10 years, but have put in my time with Zerging, sieging, bombing, and in general just RVR. With that said, let's jump right into the video. Alright, so let's jump right into it. The way I see it, there are two absolute necessities of any MMO veteran's basic skill set. These are quickbinds and character control. First, we'll be covering quickbinds, or as I like to call them, Q-binds. To me, using Q-binds is the first big step from casual to advanced. In basic terms, Q-binds means mapping your abilities to a specific, comfortable key or button on your keyboard and mouse that are quick for you to use and easy to remember. Glaring advantages of this is a massive increase in speed and the ability to simultaneously monitor your environment and play your character. So for this example, I'm going to showcase a pack healer and offer advice on how I bind up my tune. Pack healers are notoriously known for being a class with one of the most buttons and binds in the game. The first thing to consider when optimally setting up your buttons is what spell or abilities do you use the most. This is obviously going to change depending on what class you're playing, but for this example, we'll stick to a pack. So what does a pack do? Main things are mezzing, rooting, stunning, and of course healing. They need to be able to hasty buff multiple tanks easily and fast, and they need to be ready to demez their front line. They've also got a bunch of clutch abilities like 5 instant CCs and 2 immunity abilities. And don't forget, 2 instant heals and an instant res as well. They aren't always expected to, but should be ready to rebuff their frontline base buffs, and good healers will have a champ melee style, ready to use when they're covered with pets and can't do anything else. Finally, don't forget about all your item uses and charges that you'll need bound. This is a ton of stuff you need to map to play at maximum efficiency, and just looking at this stuff by yourself with no knowledge, it's pretty easy to understand why people would just assume to click their hotbars rather than set this all up. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's bind our first ability. Let's take a look at my main hotbar. It's this one in the middle of the screen just to make it easy to see. It's best to leave the majority of your screen free of clutter, but we'll get into that later. Alright, so we have my main hotbar, and as you can see, and probably already know, my greater heal is bound to 2, my spread heal to 3, and my AE mez to 4. I'd recommend putting your most used abilities on 1 through 4. These are major buttons that should be super easy for everyone to hit, and it actually puts your left hand in a good position to hit the rest of the chunk of the keyboard. One of a healer's major abilities, demez, isn't on my first page. I have demez bound to tilde, although you probably wouldn't know it by looking at this. When setting up a tune's binds, we'll need to head to a hotbar with plenty of free space. The bar you place these abilities on doesn't actually matter, because ideally you never want to come back here again. So I'm just going to go to bar 3. There we go. Next up, we want to find the ability to bind, so in this case it's going to be our demez. I'll go up here to my abilities list, pacification, and there's cleanse mind, which is the demez. I'll put it here on page 3, slot 1. If I wanted to, I could scroll through page 3 and start using demez, so in a fight I'd be like, oh, I need to demez this dude, which is myself, and there we go. Go back to page 1. That's extremely inefficient in speed. It also prevents me from using any of my heals if I suddenly need them, since my heals are on the first page, and on 2 and 3, then I'll have to go back to page 3 to demez someone. That's not a good thing to do. If a groupmate starts taking damage and I'm on page 3 demezing someone else, it's probably gonna die. If you realize you're doing this, it's time to change. I want to keep my bar always on page 1, but how can I use my demez if it's on page 3? Well, we've got to Q-bind it. Q-binding is pretty straightforward. I want to map this to tilde, so here's what we'll type in the command window. We'll do /Qbind311. So what are we looking at here? /Qbind tells the game that I'm initiating a slash command and that it's about binding. First number 3 is telling the game what page the button I'm looking for is on, so in this case we're on page 3. The second number, or the 1, is telling the game what slot the ability I want, and it's in the first slot here on bar 3. The last number is the actual hotbar I can get it on. This is where it can get confusing. The actual hotbar, this one though, this is our first hotbar, this is our main one. This number can only be 1, 2, or 3, since as of this video, only 3 hotbars can be used in the game right now. Since this is our first hotbar, we put the 1 there. Alright, so /Quickbind311, and let's go ahead and press enter. You'll see a message saying recording next key press for bank 3, slot 1, quick bar 1. If you see this, you've done everything right up to this point. The next key you press on your keyboard will map itself to 311, which in our case is DMES. So right now I'm going to go ahead and hit tilde. Key tilde bound to bank 3, slot 1, quick bar 1, and it changed it because I had it bound somewhere else. You can just ignore that for now. Target yourself. Press your new button, in my case it's tilde. Let's make sure we go back to 1. Do it again, and it looks like we're good to go. So now we have tilde bound to our DMES that's on page 3. We never have to go back to page 3 ever again to use this ability. So we can look at the rest of my Q binds here on my healer, and as you see, there can be a lot of stuff to map. Make sure all your clutch abilities that we mentioned earlier are good to go quickly. All of those for me are on my mouse. Since my hand is always on my mouse, and yours should be too, I can hit them instantly. There were several things we didn't mention that you'll want to step up your game with as well, like Confuse for clearing third pets and missed pets, and both disease and poison cures. If you take a look at your very most recent top entry here, that's the one we just made. That's our tilde slot. That's on page 3, slot 1, quick bar 1. So anything you do here will be listed in /Qbind. That's all you'll have to type. In a later video, we'll discuss using a gaming hardware like a Razer Naga or Black Widow or any kind of gaming mouse or keyboard to bind multiple abilities to a single spell. What this means is you can bind an offensive and defensive ability to one button, and since you can't attack an ally, it'll use a defensive ability instead. For example, if the DMES thing we just made, if I target a hostile like an Earthlord, it will instead use Confuse for me. That way, for me, tilde shares both DMES and Confuse. That's a more advanced tactics, which I do recommend to take advantage of. It's useful not just in Dark Age, but in all kinds of other games and genres as well. Alright, that's going to wrap up this first video in the series. Next we'll talk about character control and how it's one of the 2 other major necessities for outplaying your opponents. Try the game for free at darkageofcamelot.com.